Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to yet again a new League of Legends video. So every single 2 weeks we always release a new video talking about big changes coming up in the following patch, in this case for patch 6.15. And the whole point of this video that I make every 2 weeks is to just give you an idea as to what's coming, the biggest things to worry about, so that when the patch finally does hit the live servers, you're good to go, you can jump into it, and you know exactly what to expect, and hopefully nothing surprises you. So as usual, if you guys end up enjoying this video and finding it useful or informative or whatever, then make sure to let me know by hitting that like button. And also let me know down in the comments below which of the changes do you think is going to be the most impactful. Alright, so let's start things off by talking about the first change and what is potentially going to be the biggest one for this current patch. And that's going to be the changes happening to the turrets and also the minion waves, more specifically the cannon minions. Now I did make a video a few days ago talking specifically about this change, which if you haven't seen, I highly recommend checking out. But let's quickly go over this change one more time. So turrets will now give something called First Blood, which essentially means exactly what it sounds like. The first team to kill the first turret in the game will get bonus rewards. More specifically, 400 total gold across the team for the first turret killed, 275 local gold, and 25 global gold. On top of this, the fortification buff on turrets has also been changed, where now the duration has been lowered to 5 minutes from 7, damage reduction has been increased to 50% from 35, and what I personally think is the biggest change is the fact that bot lane turrets no longer have fortification. So if you're a bot lane main, whether you play support or ADC, prepare for some serious clown fiestas happening. They have also improved the AI of the turrets, but apparently it might not be coming this patch, but the patch after. Now next to this, there's also changes happening to the cannon minions, where the rate at which the cannon minions actually spawn has been changed. Each team will get one cannon minion per wave rotating lanes. So for instance, bot lane will get a cannon minion on wave 3, mid lane will get one on wave 4, top lane will get one at wave 5, and then it'll repeat with bot lane, mid lane, top lane again up until 20 minutes into the game. But once 20 minutes finally hits, mid lane will get a cannon minion wave on wave number 40, and then bot lane and top lane will get one on wave 41 together, and then back to mid lane, repeating until 35 minutes. But then at 35 minutes, every single lane will be receiving a cannon minion on every single wave. So currently siege minions actually do spawn after 35 minutes every single wave, but before that, it's quite a big difference. So all in all, this is going to be quite massive to League of Legends in terms of just overall how the laning phase can work out, how much more attention is going to be put into the bot lane since those turrets don't have fortification, and both teams naturally are going to be wanting to get that first blood bonus gold. Again, I have a video specifically talking about this change. If you want a lot more information, definitely check it out. Now the second big change I'll be talking about in this patch is to a champion that I have been thinking is probably the best champion in League of Legends for a very long time. Hecarim. He is finally receiving some nerfs. His attack damage has been lowered to 58 from 61.3, and the damage on his Q has also been lowered by 10 at every single rank. At first, it doesn't really seem like the biggest nerfs in the world, and honestly, they really aren't. But if you really think about it, the base damage on his auto attacks has been lowered, which means Trinity Force will be essentially less effective. And his clear speed in the jungle should definitely be hit by this as well, since he has the double damage lowered on his auto attacks and his Q as well. I was hoping maybe the base damage on his Q would have been lowered a little bit more than it is, but I mean, it's still something and it's not that bad. So we'll see how it plays out. Next up, we have Karma, who is also receiving some pretty decent nerfs, because Karma has been actually quite strong as a support champion or even a mid laner. So the nerfs are as follows. The shield value on her E ability has been lowered by 10 at every single rank. She can no longer shield minions, and if she were to use her ultimate with her E ability for the empowered shield, it'll now offer the exact same movement speed as her regular shield, going from 40% up to 60% rather than 60% at all ranks. So this is not only touching on Karma's utility and nerfing it down a bit, but she can no longer shield minions, which has always been a very annoying thing to do, especially as a support Karma, because you can easily make ADCs miss CS. Definitely a nerf without question, but not necessarily a make or break it. She'll still be played, just probably not as often. But next up, let's talk about a champion that has been forgotten for such a long time, to the point where I even made a video talking about how he's just completely non-existent. And that champion is going to be Kassadin. So he's getting buffs to his Q ability and his E. Now the buffs to his Q are a little bit awkward at first, because the damage at rank 1 has actually been lowered by 5, but rank 2 it's the same, and after rank 3 it slowly starts increasing to getting an additional 15 bonus damage at rank 5. He is also getting some minor buffs to his E ability where the mana cost has been lowered starting at 60 at rank 1, going all the way up to 80 at rank 5, from being 80 mana at every single rank. So obviously when you really think about it, I mean, these aren't the biggest buffs in the entire world. I mean, yeah, it's something, but I mean, it's really not a do or die for Kassadin. He's still probably gonna be a very so-so champion just from these buffs alone, but the fact that he's finally receiving any form of buffs, it's like a miracle. But maybe even with the changes happening to the canon minions and overall how the pace of the game might change as well, you never know, this might be the time for Kassadin to come back and finally show his dominance. But the main reason I wanted to highlight them is because he's finally getting some attention, and I thought that was quite fantastic. But then we have Malzahar, who is yet again another champion that is arguably the strongest at the very moment. He's been absolutely tearing it up, having a very high win ratio across the board, but he's finally getting a little bit of nerfs, specifically to his passive. Now the linger effect, after you proc his passive where it reduces damage or blocks CC, the effect only lasts 0.25 seconds rather than a full second. But the cooldown of his passive has also been increased, so essentially just a pretty decent hit to his passive, but honestly it still kind of does what you want it to do. I mean, the whole idea for me at least in his passive is if you're walking around and you get caught off by maybe like a thresh Q, it is still going to successfully block that for you and essentially save you from being caught, working pretty much exactly like a Banshee's Veil. That is still very much there, so the actual lingering effect isn't really that much of an issue, but the fact that his passive now has much higher cooldowns is pretty good. Following Mr. Malzahar, we have Mrs. Nidalee. Now, Nidalee has been known to be one of the most dominant higher elo or higher skill cap junglers for a very long time, but honestly, she has been kind of out of flavor for a few patches now. And apparently Riot agrees because the buffs happening to Nidalee, both in human form and cougar form, across the board are just aimed at her early game, or at least her early to mid game, and help her with her clears. Because now in human form, her Q ability's maximum and minimum damage has been increased at the earlier ranks, but by rank 5 it'll be the exact same. But the minimum and maximum damage on her Q ability in cougar form, however, has also been increased at the lower ranks, but actually decreased at the higher ranks. But to sort of compensate for that, the AP ratio on her Q ability in cougar form has been increased to 40% from 36, and damage versus hunted targets has been increased from 33 to 40. So that's all quite fantastic, but apparently now using her R ability will no longer reset her basic auto attack, which for the higher skilled players might be a little bit of an issue. So I feel like this will definitely make people start looking at Nidalee once again as a potential dominating jungler, someone that they can maybe put a lot of time into and start destroying games with, but it really comes down to just how it plays out. Now the third last change is going to be towards Renekton, sometimes known as probably the most dominant top laner, other times known as probably one of the weaker ones. So the buff he's receiving for this patch is going to be a completely new effect. Whenever you use your ultimate, you gain 20 Fury. On top of this, the AoE magic damage per second has been increased to 40, 80, and 120 ranks 1, 2, and 3 from 30, 60, and 120. So in my opinion, the main thing to look at here is going to be the instant 20 Fury you get whenever you pop your ultimate, because this can really just overall set up some new kind of plays you can do with Renekton. For instance, now you can pop ultimate at 30 Fury and start doing something with that, or you can even do it at 80, or just in general, getting more Fury equals more damage most likely, and chances are you are going to be stronger overall. So I'm very curious to see if this is enough to bring Renekton back into the meta. I personally think it is, and I feel like Renekton might actually become a pretty solid pick once again, but only time will tell. Moving forward, there's a pretty important change happening to Vayne. Now, it's nothing completely crazy, but it's definitely worth mentioning. First of all, it has been changed so that the basic attack and the bonus damage from her Q can no longer crit separately, and her Q ability can now also work on towers, consuming the buff to deal bonus damage. Now the second one is actually the one that's really intriguing or interesting, because first of all, I mean, she can push towers finally a little bit faster, but the biggest thing to me is the fact that, you know, when you're running away or maybe even chasing someone, you Q to maybe get a little bit of extra movement or distance, but then you're running around with that Q and it's kind of annoying. You want to proc it, but you have nothing to proc it on, you can't attack anything, and hitting the tower won't really do anything either. Well, now you can use it. You can proc the Q effect, maybe in case you want to use another Q to move faster, to run away faster, to maybe catch someone, or to proc your ultimate's stealth ability again. It's all in all just kind of adds more options to Vayne and what she can do, and that's always a good thing. And the last and final thing I'll be talking with you guys about in this video is going to be Vladimir. Once again, a champion that has also been considered to be one of the best mid laners in the past couple of patches. Well, he's finally receiving some nerfs because his base movement speed has been decreased to 330 from 335. I mean, not the biggest thing in the world, but it's still something. But the cooldown on his W has also been increased by a total of 2 seconds at every single rank. So just considering how strong Vlad can really be if you play him correctly, at this point, I mean, honestly, any nerfs received at all are a blessing. So I just sort of wanted to point that out and let you guys know that Vladimir is finally getting a little bit of extra nerfs. But all in all, guys, that is about it for this video. There you have it, several big changes coming to patch 6.15. If you found this video informative or useful or whatever, or if you want to see more like it in the future, let me know by hitting that like button. Let me know in the comments below which of these changes do you think will impact you the most. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Check out my other videos as well. You guys know what to do. You know the drill. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next episode. Peace.